Fantastic. Okay, this is our workshop on April the 9th, and Dan, let's get this thing rolling. You have a recommendation on project 2025-001 grass cutting.
Yes.
I met with Dan this morning, and he actually went over this with me a little bit, so hopefully I certainly feel a little bit better about all the numbers, but the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Bid opening for project number 2025-001 was publicly opened on Wednesday, April 2nd. There are two bidders for the project, Bay Country Services and Scott's Landscape. Based on the specified frequencies of the cut, which is open spaces in the parks are weekly, stormwater management ponds and water tower and wastewater treatment plants owned by Infomark bi-weekly. Based on, they gave us numbers for those cuts. Based on this, we extrapolated out the monthly cost and multiplied it over a 7-month cutting season. These are the results. The 7-month cutting season, Bay Country Services bid $437,724. Again, for the 7-month cutting season. Scott's Landscaping bids $298,200 for the 7-month cutting season. Upon reviewing both bidders seem to appear to have recommended manpower and the equipment. I recommend you contract with Scott's Landscaping for a not to exceed price of $298,200 for the 7-month cutting season for this year.
What were the two bids again, so I can write that down?
Oh, okay, yeah, Bay Country Services
Oh,
was,
I didn't see that.
you got it?
I have it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And when does this start?
Hopefully quicker, hopefully it's in a week.
I'll just have any comments, under the contract term, it won't start until the contract's executed, by both party notice to proceed has been issued. So we anticipate that within a 2-week period.
Probably faster than that.
Well, it depends on how fast you move.
I will move very quickly. I will personally shovel through the paperwork to make it quick. Right now, we have to do it quickly just because the grant is starting.
Lou,
So-
sorry, go ahead, Charles.
So even though we got the information prior and the date, and I think you sent us some information on email, Jean asked a good question. I don't know whether you responded to her or not, but why was there a $139,000 difference when you had the two bidders seeing the scope of the project and what they were going to do?
I cannot answer that.
Okay.
But you didn't see anything that
No,
was
exactly. I
out of
reviewed
whack
the manpower, reviewed the equipment, and for Scott to actually check out the references checked out well. So we did have due diligence that way. So.
It appeared to me that one bid was about $60 an acre, and the other bid was around $70 an acre.
Okay.
So I think that's
Yeah.
That makes
probably what the
sense.
numbers were.
Thank you.
Lou, do you have any issue with us moving forward with this?
Absolutely not, Mayor.
All right, so, hey, do we have a motion to move forward with Scott's Landscaping for a not to exceed number of $298,200 for a gas contract?
That's a move.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Looking forward to this great partnership.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Chief, you want to come on down?
Yes, thank you.
We bumped Jean right out of the lead.
I did, but we had talked about that in advance. She was okay with it.
Okay, these are signed by me. You give them to Lewis maybe, or Lewis might be next.
If you just give me a minute, I will make sure my presentation gets up here. Okay.
Hold on one moment, Chief. I greatly share access. Can you exit out of that real quick for me, please?
You guys see exactly how limited I am with these skills.
Oh. Okay. All right. Now,
They never do any.
Yeah, I know that.
okay.
It was the wrong one.
Oh, gosh.
Like that, interesting.
All right, now you can go to a slide option.
Are we good? Are you good?
Well, it's not showing,
No, do it.
it's only showing it for, oh, it should be fine. I think it's fine now.
Hey, Chief, before you get started, I have a question.
Sure.
Real quickly, and I'm glad Andy's in the room also. Marijuana policy for police officers. If you have a medical card, police
Doesn't matter.
officers, it doesn't matter.
It
No.
does not matter.
Very good. So for the police department, you can't have you can't do marijuana at all.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Does not
And,
matter.
and Andy, I wanted to get that clarified, because when you come up, I want to ask the question about town employees,
Sure,
if they're on a medical card.
sure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I just noticed that what's actually on the screen is the other information that I have here. I think it's showing the human resources on.
You mean on the Zoom
You want
call?
to go?
You get my 8mm projector.
That's old.
Yeah.
There's a stop share up top. Kathleen, if you want to stop share and reset it. The very top, right there to the red button there.
Oh, okay.
And then you can
Thank you.
reshare it. The very bottom. And you hit that one.
Yes.
Hey, now we got it.
Then you share it. Yep, there you go.
There you go, that's better.
Good.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry about that.
We got it?
Yes.
All right, Chief, you're on.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about the agency. You know, I enjoy doing that, and anytime I get an opportunity to talk about our police department, I welcome that. So just bear with me, I'm not used to these. Just wanted to kind of give you a breakdown. I know we talked a lot about staffing, and this is kind of how it's distributed amongst all of our police officers. You'll see I have current sworn allocated staff is 52. That includes the 2 grant-funded positions that are our school resource officers. Where it says current sworn staff active is 42, we also have 3 recruits in academies. But this does also include, I have 3 that's currently on administrative suspension. We still are holding the captain's position, that never staffed that. These are basically our numbers, and it was just easier to use 2024 numbers.
Do you believe you're gonna fill the captain position at any time soon? Or are you keeping that tight to the vest?
I'm not planning on doing that just yet, and you'll see why, I
Okay.
think. And I'll explain that a little bit more as we go through. These
Earl was
are,
looking for a position.
I hear Earl's high maintenance. So our arrests, our reports, our calls, they generally stay right around the same. Our traffic enforcement this year was up a little, and then one of the things I like to point out is right here, and I guess you can't really see it on the TV, but it's the 90 firearms that we seized. For an agency of our size, that really is unheard of. Those were 2024 stats.
Do we find that most of those guns are stolen, or they
Some stolen, some by prohibited persons, some used in crimes, so it varies.
Do you have a timeline for the number of reports you have once it occurs for it to come to completion? Or do you still have them actually hanging until they come to fruition, or what?
The reports
The
themselves.
reports, you have 3,000, whatever reports if you would go back.
Sure. Let me try and do- Okay.
See 35 reports taken.
Yeah, those are the initial offense reports. So there's a lot of other reports that go with that, but this is the initial crime report. It doesn't include supplements by our detectives. It does not include if there's follow-up investigation. It doesn't include arrest reports, vehicle reports, all the administrative reports such as use of force and pursuits and things like that. But these are the initial crime reports. That's what that includes.
Okay.
They are, typically we ask for those to be done by the completion of their shift. That doesn't always happen, particularly if it's, you know, a very busy shift. But usually before their days off, we try to have it.
Okay.
And then it has to go through the whole process of being approved by a supervisor and then going through our records department. Good question. So one division that we have is our Special Operations Bureau. That is spearheaded by Lieutenant Odom, and it includes our Criminal Investigation Unit and our Street Crimes Unit. 298 cases that they handled in 2024. That's a lot of cases. We have very limited, we do have one officer who's dedicated to the Child Advocacy Center. I believe there were 48 child abuse cases that we handled last year. That's a lot. Way too much. So just a couple here, 211 search warrants. Now that includes homes, vehicles, phones, all of that. But again, for an agency our size, for an agency twice our size, that's unheard of, really. And I actually had to, I'll disclose that I had to ask exactly what a pen register was, because we had 12 of those last year. Those are the search warrants that we track real-time cell phone location. So what I'm told is they're good for 30 days. We monitor them 24/7, and we have to report every location where a phone pings. We've used this, I'll tell you where this was really critical, was, remember we had an 11-year-old Hispanic female that was kidnapped in town, and we found her in Chicago. Do you remember that case?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is critical on that. We did 6 court orders for GPS, so on vehicles and things like that. One of the new divisions that I formed just this year was the Community Engagement Division. And this is spearheaded by Lieutenant Copper. It includes our school resource officers. It includes our parking enforcement, which right now we have a vacancy in. And it's being handled by one of those officers that's on suspension. They handle our backgrounds. You'll just see, we did this so that we can really engage in the community in a non-threatening way, really to gain some social capital with our community. It's been really great. One of the interesting things, they handle our national night out in our award ceremony, but Officer Devine found out that the county apparently has some kind of program, analytics. They were able to determine that at our national night out last year, there were over 1,100 people there. They used cell phone data to tell us that. I think that report was a little scary because they could tell you where you were before that and how long you were there.
That doesn't include children.
Probably not. Those are cell phone carriers, right?
Right.
Those are cell phone carriers, yeah. So we're definitely trying to have a greater presence out in the community. And not threatening them. Our Support Services Bureau is led by Lieutenant Todd Finch. It includes all of our records department. Our professional standards is basically Sergeant Nussel, who handles our body-worn cameras, our fleet maintenance, quartermaster, and he does our internal investigations. But one of the things I want to point out here is our under grants. And again, this doesn't like show up on the TV, but under grants at the very bottom, you'll see our active open grants that we have for this year exceeds $915,000. If you look at the budget book that I gave you, in the very back, if you're interested at all, there's a listing of those grants. So just if you're curious. Another thing that I like to point out is sometimes things happen, the rules and laws get changed, and it really affects our workload. In records this year, in August, the courts decided that they were going to make certain things an automatic expungement. So and I wrote this down too, so I would know. So that was in August. From January to March, we processed 135 regular expungements. After that new law went into effect in August, there were 196 automatic ones from August to December, and 31 regular. So far this year, there's been 151 automatic expungements, just from January to the end of March.
What happens to them? They just
The
go away forever?
expungements, they do. We have to get rid of any record of the actual, not necessarily the crime or the investigation, but the actual charges. Any reference to the charge, we have to eliminate.
What's
we
the
have-
outcome?
I'm sorry.
Any outcome? I mean, I guess.
Any outcome. So if we sent their fingerprints to, if we sent their fingerprints down to the state, we have to notify them so they eliminate their prints out of their criminal history record. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into this.
So is that what they, is that APHIS or what is that?
It's through meters, the NCIC, National Information, National
But I
Crime
mean,
Information.
offenders' fingerprints or DNA is removed?
Yes. If their record is expunged. So it's clearing that record or that particular charge from their record. Yeah. And really, if we've disseminated that information to anyone, we're actually supposed to notify them that it's been expunged as well. But I just use that as an example of one of the many things that we do where
Yeah,
all of a sudden that workload is tripled, quadrupled
right.
in just that one area.
Appreciate it.
So our next one's our Field Operations Bureau, commonly referred to as our Patrol Division. This is headed by Lieutenant Jeremy Fuller. Again, our calls for service, our arrest, you'll see all of that. And then as well, our top 5 crimes. These, fortunately for us, pretty much have stayed pretty consistent over all the years, probably even that I've been in law enforcement, so probably as long as you guys have been on the board. And then just to break it down a little bit more about our crimes, and then you'll see in the parentheses whether it's higher or lower, that's compared to the 2023 stats that we had. These look probably a little different than anything you've seen before, and that's because if you remember, I told you previously, we had to change from UCR data to the NIBRS, the incident-based reporting system, so that accounts for that. I'll point out here that the auto theft has increased 52%. We saw a 52% increase from 2023 to 2024. This really is a trend across the whole state of Maryland, and it's related to that a lot of the juvenile crime. And I'll give our officers some kudos on this. They really they did some great work, and they identified a whole group of juveniles that were doing auto thefts and burglaries, not just in town but in the entire county. So we've had some success with that. Also, another question that kind of comes up is what's the difference between an aggravated assault and a simple assault? The aggravated assault, you just typically, if there's any kind of weapon involved, whether it was used or not, even a display of a weapon will escalate that to an aggravated assault. Or the severity of the injury, if someone is injured. And the only other real exception to that is a choking or strangulation. Even if there's no injury, the fact that someone put their hands around someone's neck, that'll automatically escalate that. So we have to code that as an aggravated assault. So in law enforcement, I fully believe as a service agency, we are only as good as our people. And so we've kind of talked about this. Why are we having trouble getting people or retaining people, right? So I think I mentioned I was partnering up with HR, we were going to do a survey. We did that survey, we did it online through Google Forms, it was totally anonymous, and it was only for my sworn officers. These are the questions that we asked. We've kind of talked about it before, that usually if they're leaving, they've thought about it at least 6 months. But it wasn't just about that. I also wanted to know, how are we doing? So how's our leadership doing? Not just administration, but our first line supervisors. And then anything else that we could think of that might be important, we wanted to know. This one scared the crap out of me and still does to this day. In the last 6 months, have you thought about leaving EPA? We had 37 responses, and 31 out of 37 of my officers said they thought about leaving us in the last 6 months.
Excuse me, Jim.
Let that sink in for a minute.
Yeah.
So then my question is, why? So I gave them just some canned answers on there, and those were compensation, benefits, or growth opportunities. And then you'll see they could put in whatever they wanted to. When I total all of this up and read each of these questions, each of these responses, in at least 51% of the answers, pay or compensation was listed as a primary reason for them wanting to leave. So then the question.
I'm sorry, do you, if you would go back again.
Absolutely.
You know, on a lot of jobs, a lot of people, whatever area they work in, sometimes feels undervalued.
Yes.
I mean, you do things, it's like teachers being in a classroom, the kids yell and this, that, and the other. Do you, in your instance right here, or with your department, do you anything to try to improve your morale, not only with the individual, but with the department as a whole?
Absolutely. And what I'm going to do is share some of these responses to you. And if you look in that same section under there,
Where?
under the personnel, I did a printout. So these are the ones where it was just, they really were going to pick one or the other or other, and then they put those down. I can tell you that that is one, that comes out to be one person on there. And what I would say is with any survey that you do, you kind of have to throw out the top end and the low end, right? And look at the middle as the bulk of the people. But absolutely we do. We don't want anyone, but we also don't know what their individual situation is. I just told you I have 3 on suspension. Like, I don't know where they fall at on here. We do try, and I think we've done a great job of changing our culture. I think you'll find that. And by the way, I will mention right now that this survey is online. I can share it with any of your emails if you like after this. And you can see the entirety of it and what was said. I'm going to share it.
And my last question is, do you meet with each of your officers during the year or at an individual time, one-on-one? I mean, you work with staff, you go there, you do this, but it's always important, I think, when you're the head, whether you're in the school system or whether in corporate, that you need to know your employees. And
I agree.
you don't want your employees think, well, the chief is whatever, and you know, she doesn't have time for me.
I agree. And I can tell you, no, the answer to that is no. And it's not because I don't want to, and I need to make a better effort of doing that. What I will say is I meet with everyone when they get hired. I want to know their why, and I want them to know who they're working for and what I stand for. My family is very important to me. My blue family is important as well, right? And I want them to know that. I want them to know, I think I probably said that before, I want them to know that we make mistakes, you just own them, and then we're going to, and I'll have your back. You make one from the heart. But I also want them to know if you go out there and you make a mistake or you mess up because you got this badge and you think that's going to get you out of trouble, that I'm going to be your first one to help you through the door. So I think it's important to know who they're working for. But I do try to go to some roll calls. I need to do better at that. And I am starting. You'll see, I told you I have those 4 lieutenants now. Before I only had 3, and I didn't have a captain. And we've done a lot of work in the last 4.5 years that I've been chief. So now I am trying to get out there. As a matter of fact, I don't do very well at delegating. But I will give kudos to Tracy and to Officer Conley for helping me put this PowerPoint presentation together. I gave them the information the day that I wanted, and I said, please put this together for me, and they did. Because I got to do more of that so that I can have the time. I've been going out into the community a little bit more. We had a coffee with this week. I was at breakfast with Head Start yesterday morning. So we're trying to do that. I do hear what you say, and I totally agree that's important. So, going back to the presentation, if they're leaving or thinking about leaving, well, are they just thinking about it, or are they taking some action? This is the answer to that. Most of them, fortunately, have just been researching what other law enforcement agencies are offering. But there are a few that have taken it to another level and have applied either with another law enforcement agency or non-law enforcement. So we've learned some lessons from this. Give you a minute to look. The top two are both positive things we've learned from this, and then also we've learned from what some of our challenges are.
This is very enlightening.
I thought so too. But thank you for that. We did put a lot of time and effort into this.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit down and read it over a pot of coffee. Yeah.
So I think you'll find, and I have a couple other things in here, I think that'll show you that they do enjoy the culture of the agency. Most of them even enjoy their workload. It just, sometimes it can get to be a little much. We have to be very careful of that. But you're gonna see it's pay, and it's sometimes an overwhelming workload that's kind of driving force behind us and then wanting to leave. So one of the things that, and you have these, I printed these out for you. These are all the responses to each question that we asked that we're going to have some canned answers up there. And so I wanted you to hear it in their own words, because who better to share this than them? So one of the first questions I asked was, if you could change something about your job, what would it be? One of them said, I would like my compensation to match the amount of work that I do. Another one said the pay scale raise. EPD handles more work and calls than most Cecil County agencies. All right. So then I asked, well, what makes us, where do you want to work? What makes us stand out as a place to work? And so a couple of responses there. The department as a whole is amazing. Someone else said support from the mayor and commissioners. Someone said, we're a small department with a high crime volume, keeping officers busy, but also making the job exciting. Someone said, it's our quality of work, our leadership from the top down, training opportunities, and our people in general. We work hard. And then someone else said, the teamwork approach and group camaraderie, support from the command staff and town government. I think you're hearing a lot of that because I cannot tell you how important that is. Laws, the threat of loss of officer qualified immunity, all of those things make it really important that they feel that they have the support of their administration, their town leadership, and even the community. Yeah. So now we know why they want to work here. What do they feel are their challenges? And one said lack of manpower. We need to find ways to hire and keep people. Someone else said the call volume and the amount of reports required to be written. And yet another said the workload to employee ratio is too high. Just a couple more on that, because you can tell in these answers, people gave this a lot of thought and effort. Someone said dealing with retirements and promotions has proven to be difficult. Finding qualified officers to fill the vacancies without jeopardizing our agency's reputation and quality of work. Patrol is staffed with very young officers with limited experience. We recommend an increase in recruiting designed to attract lateral officers with experience. Somebody said we're a very busy agency, the busiest agency in the county, and we do not get compensated enough for the work we do. And then the last one I'll share under that one was the expansion of the town and large call volume with a limited workforce. We need expansion of the department to better serve the community. All right, we know their challenges, we know what drove them here, what keeps you working here, what do you look forward to most during your day? And we got a lot of responses to that. But this one kind of sums it all up for me, so I'll just share one with you. The department, personnel, and leadership. Many officers look to benefit and guide each other. The staff within are one of the main reasons why officers don't leave the department. But there is only so much that can be done if the compensation is not improving. So when I ask what we can do to best support you, well, the funniest one I'll share with you, I didn't have highlighted, wasn't planning on sharing with you, but I liked it. Find a way to keep Lieutenant Fuller so he doesn't retire next year. He's the best patrol lieutenant we've had in my nearly 20 years. And I would say he's doing a great, fantastic job. But seriously, one of the things that was said was I think raising the pay would help so that I could have more time at home with my family and not have to work so much overtime just to make what officers and other agencies make on their regular scheduled days work. And then this is the last one. This was the last question. This is going to be my last response. But the biggest thing plaguing our department is the lack of competitive pay. We're working in an era where holding on to good officers is paramount. And unfortunately, officers have a lot of opportunities to be hired other places. The biggest reason officers will leave is pay. Officers have realized they can make the same amount as their pay here, including overtime, somewhere else as a base salary. We have to become more competitive with pay and realize how long it takes to hire and train an officer. We cannot afford to lose 10 to 15 good officers. I understand this issue does not just fall on EPD, but the town as a whole. And I strongly encourage you, you can tell they gave a lot of thought into this. They did not know I was going to share these with you. So I would ask that, you have time. Yes.
One thing I would say is, as long as I've been here, we've always supported the police department. I stated there's not enough money that I could say that we could pay you to have you work this job, because I wouldn't want to take it. But anyway, unless Rob put me in that position.
And I think that you see that they feel supported.
Yeah, but one of the things that I would like to say that I would like to see, did the officers respond to any kind of interactions with the community, like when they arrest a person, some of the downfall that they have when they're, like, for example, the one that stands out to me for years and years is officer pulls a person over and the person says something to them and they say, shut up, I'm not talking, you don't say another word. And then it escalates to, now you made me have to arrest you because you opened your mouth. How many times have officers ran into that issue, but then in a nice way or calm way, dealt with the community where they felt as though they was being treated fairly? Because I hear that a lot from not just our officers, from the county, the sheriff department, and it sometimes escalates to one charge to another, then next minute you got assault and battery charge. You understand?
On the citizen side.
Yes. I just wanted to know, that's something that maybe might seek out for the officers and see some of the things that really make them have to really tighten up their belt.
I think when we went to body-worn cameras years ago under, and I can't remember if that was under Chief Donnelly or Chief Ryan, but I think that quelled a lot of that for our agency. I don't think we have that big of an issue. Most of the complaints that we deal with, or most of them are internally generated. The ones we do get from the citizens, and most recently I could think of that is they just feel like they're being targeted. I don't really hear, and listen, sometimes your own behavior will make you a target to a police department, right? So I kind of, we investigate them like we do everything else. Now we have the Police Accountability Board. I think all of those things, like, even though for me administratively it becomes a challenge dealing with a civilian oversight board, I think it can have its advantages too, right? Because now it's not just the chief saying they didn't do anything wrong. It's the civilian saying, yeah, I would have probably done the same thing in these circumstances. Or it was within policy and guidelines. So we try to do that, make sure our policies are there. You don't hear about contempt of cop anymore that you used to, like when I was a younger, newer officer, I used to hear about that. I bet Lewis can probably tell some stories about those.
There's a few stories on Lewis.
But, Commissioner Planner, I would just say that, you know, I always have an open door policy. Really, if you have people that are having issues with our officers, I am willing to talk to them at any time and address it. We've gotten some software systems in place, and we have a brand new one that's coming on called Blue Teams that's going to sort of act like an early warning system for us. We also use a system called Trulio, which is a software system that analyzes 100% of our body-worn camera footage. And it will tell me if there is which I can tell you, I've never gotten one that says, the supervisors would though. The supervisors get it, that if it flags it and says inappropriate language, for instance. But I will tell you, most of the time, it's the suspect and not the officer. But most of the ones I get say highly professional interaction, a de-escalation effort was used during this interaction with someone. So we do have some things in place, but if there is something, I just encourage them to come talk to us.
I don't know why.
Okay, good. Have me a little worried, but. Okay.
I would imagine the lack of respect for the officers has increased terribly, because that seems to be the general trend.
So we do
Defined.
have our share of that, right,
Yeah.
with certain people that we deal with, or the criminal element.
Yeah.
But I would say, in general, I think our community supports this, and I think our officers feel that support.
I think you're right.
Yeah, I do. So one of the challenges is losing officers, but one of the strategies we've leveraged is emphasizing a healthy organizational culture, prioritizing our employee health and wellness, and we've invested in their professional growth for them and for the department. You guys already know that we lost Sergeant LaSalle, so 13 years, an experienced supervisor. That's hard to replace, and you're not going to just replace that. Not going to happen. I did share with you that was his letter of resignation to me. This was his farewell email that I sent to everyone. Whoops, let's go back. The one thing I just want to highlight on that is what he said there, that says, though my time with the Elkton Police Department is coming to an end, my respect and admiration for this agency and the people who serve it will never fade. What you may not know is mid-March, I got this from Officer Irvin. Officer Irvin came to us with 2 years from Pennsylvania. He was an excellent fit here at the agency. He was a solid law enforcement officer. Some might even call him an old soul. And then I just kind of wanted to point out here where he said, the command staff here is like no other, and I'm grateful to have worked for such an incredible group of leaders. And most recently, we got this one. Darius Wright came to us from Baltimore City. He was one that went to the academy with some of our officers. He came here, unfortunately got injured on duty while he was in field training. He was out for about a year, had to have surgery, but he came back just the end of 2024, finished his field training with us. Somehow or another, Baltimore City reached back out to him, offered him a little bit more money. He initially declined, but then they came back and countered again. I don't know what his final salary is going to be, but are you hearing the trend here? Mm-hmm. So I point out this was in his letter of resignation to Lieutenant Fuller. Your leadership has fostered a company culture that I have been proud to be a part of. So I think what you're seeing is we're doing everything we can internally to make this a place that people do want to work. You know, previously we've done some things on the recruitment end as far as relaxing some policies, our beer policies, our tattoo policies, some other things like that we've done. As far as recruitment, or as far as retention, I don't know what else we can do. I really don't. But they keep saying they're underpaid. Let's see, are they underpaid? The only way to know that is to do some cost comparisons. We currently, our starting salary for an officer out the door, green, is $52,000, just over $52,000. Come July 1st, with the 3.3% COLA they're slated to get, that's gonna make it just over $53,000. How does that compare? Well, to agencies here in Maryland. I had heard that the Sheriff's Department was gonna be pretty lucky under County Executive Adam Strait. He fulfilled his promise. He gave them the pay increase, and come July 1st, they're gonna be making $67,000. That is almost $15,000 over what we offer. That's, you throw in their hiring bonus, that's pretty difficult. I know we always compare to Easton, that's why they were thrown in there. And then Aberdeen, the only one up here that is comparable with us really is the Havre de Grace Police Department. And I just attended a leadership class with him in March. And Chief Krause said that he's put in for a 30% increase because he's having the same issues. And I will also say that their crime rate might be a little bit lower than ours. But I'm gonna tell you what really concerns me up here, more than probably even those other salaries, is that second one, the detention center. They're gonna go to $61,000 starting salary July 1st. That's $8,000 more than ours. They only have to be 18. They're in a controlled environment. They don't have to meet all the requirements that our officers do. That's scary. We've been using them to recruit our officers. Actually, just hired one on Monday. You'll get to meet him pretty soon. Just came from the detention center.
What was the pay before this?
I don't know their starting salary previously, but that's a significant increase. So then we talk about Delaware, and I know we say we can't compete with Delaware, but the reality is we're losing officers to Delaware. Based on our location, we're losing to Delaware, and we just read with Urban, we're losing to PA. So I think it's at least important that you see where their salaries are. They're advertising here in our county for our officers. That just kind of gives you a little what it looks like. Delaware also has a website that you can go to, an officer can go to and look at any department in any town in Delaware. You can apply from there and it'll tell you what their starting salary is. So then wanted to bring up the census, and I know you guys are all leaders, you know all this about Elkton, but I thought what was interesting was the median household income and how that compares to our salaries. And then also, it's important to point out that Elkton's poverty level is more than 10% of the rest of the state, 10% higher than the rest of Maryland. This next slide tells you why that's important. When you look at number 2, under the poverty level here, it's no secret that low income and poverty levels tend to make your crime rates a little bit higher. All right, so we know their pay's a little lower, and they keep saying their workload's higher, but is it? I showed this slide to you guys before, this page. This is taken directly from the Cecil County's Intel meeting that their crime analysts put together for them every week. This was the most recent at the end of March. And you'll see, we are always, EPD is always within 30, 40 calls of the Sheriff's Department every week. They might have more, we might have more, but it's very close. And look at that number at the bottom. They have at least 100 sworn. That does not include their civil or their court security. But they have more than double the officers that we have doing basically the same thing. The red numbers up there show that those are the more serious crimes against persons. So if we had a crime against person that week, that's where that red number shows. Another thing I want to point out, when we talked about the Maryland salaries, we talked about Cecil County Sheriff's Office, but we didn't talk about these smaller agencies. You can see their call volume, but I'll tell you that the only one that has a lower starting salary than us is Perryville. Northeast PD, their current starting salary is 60,000, and Chief Yates has told me that they're expecting 63. He has the support of his board for 60, to increase that to 63,000 come July 1st. I thought this was pretty important too, because, you know, overdoses in town. You'll see how we compare with the rest of the other police departments, but also this compares year-to-date data from 2024 to 2025. We have doubled the overdoses this year in the entire county. If you want to know why, I think I have an idea why. You know, if you guys have heard about it, I was just at Coffee with talking to Aaron Wright from Boise, and he was talking about how, you know, xylazine used to be the adulterant that everyone cut the opioids with. Well, most of the drugs in Cecil County come from Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania recognized the problem and made that a schedule-controlled drug in Pennsylvania. So now, as a lot of drug dealers do, right, they change up how they operate. So now they are using this thing called metoclopramide, I think I said that right. And that is 200 to 300 times more powerful than xylazine. So the way he described it is xylazine is a horse tranquilizer, that we don't have that. This is more for like a rhino.
Thank you.
So it's very serious. And so that's what we're finding down here. Some of the packages that they tested early on have been nothing but that metoclopramide. Causes grandma seizures and other things. So you'll see our fatals have remained the same for year-to-date data, but our overall responses to overdoses has doubled basically, and we handle, Elkton Police Department handles at least half of the overdoses in Cecil County. That takes its toll on our officers day in and day out, dealing with the same people overdosing. It does. And then dealing with these, the fatals.
Cal,
Did you
just put a
say
big demand on
Narcan?
the fire company too?
I'm sorry? I'm sorry?
It's put a big demand on the fire
It
company
does
also.
increase their demand as well with these overdoses, yeah, absolutely.
You said Narcan does not.
Narcan does not work on either xylazine or metoclopramide, but they still, the response is still to give Narcan, because if there's any opioid in there, it'll eliminate those effects. So they still, and it can't hurt you, so they do say still give it. Yeah. All right, so why not just let our officers leave, right, and just keep hiring? Well, that's a lot easier than it sounds. What I tried to do in this one was to say, it's not just about the initial academy costs. We're paying them when they go through this. But it's also about the entire process. And we estimated, and this is a lower estimate, about $70,000. And that's just to get someone off the street and out of an academy and out of field training. They are greener than green. You all have been around long enough to know the difference when you're dealing with an officer who's brand new and someone who's seasoned and professional. I will also say that the better trained, more professional, more competent officers that you have dealing with these calls on the level that we have to deal with them reduces your liability. Training is one of the biggest things, and experience. There's nothing to be said for experience. So I would just say that it's not that easy. I will also tell, and you throw in somebody like Lasasa and all of his training and experience, woo, I couldn't even tell you what that cost would be. You
When
can't
we
replace
put
that.
somebody through the academy or whatever, what's their allocation to us?
There is no obligation. We had years ago a contract where we made them sign, and basically a 3-year commitment, and if they didn't, you have to pay it back. I tried to implement that, and our lovely HR director informed me that the only thing we can recoup is the cost of the academy. So, and that's, Baltimore City was giving it to us for free. Right now, I think we're paying anywhere from $3,500 to $5,000 to put someone through an academy. But what the real cost is their salary and benefits while they're attending, and we can't recoup that because that's considered earned, and I guess we were trying to do that previously. So I tried to do it, but we can't. I can't make them commit. Well, I could make them sign a contract, but if they want to leave, they can. There's no recourse. And the money is negligible.
So they would not be
It's
obligated to pay back the academy the training?
maybe the academy training.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I usually keep them long enough that we would recoup that. Normally. Usually.
Hopefully.
Yeah, usually. But, and it's also just not, you're just not getting quality sometimes. At least you gotta really go through. I will say that last night we had a written testing, and Lieutenant Comfort shared with me this morning. We had 30 applicants that said they were gonna show up. We actually had 6 show up, and we had 1 pass. And I will tell you, that was his second time taking the test, because he didn't pass it the first time. That's the very first test. That's not the interview, that's not a CDSA, that's not a psychological, that's not a medical drug screening, and it's not the background. So, but I will also say, when people are looking to go somewhere, they're not looking at your culture, because they don't know your culture. They're looking at starting salary. Most of them don't even care about benefits. But I know you're always concerned, are we comfortable with our benefits? And I did ask that question of the sheriff when I met with him, and he did say that they have all the same benefits as us. Their shift differential is even the same as our shift differential. They now have a drop program. Theirs is actually a little bit more enhanced than ours, but yeah. But when they're looking around, they're just looking at your starting salary. It's not until they get in the job that they really start looking at what's everybody else got.
So when you have an approximate cost of $70,000, if you were to take someone from another police department, what is that cost? That's
Oh, it's drastically reduced.
okay.
Yeah, because we still have to do the medical drug screening, psychological, and then we're still doing the oral boards and things, but we pay them. If they're Maryland certified, they don't have to go through any other training. We do still put them through our field training, just to make sure they're very familiar with the town and our procedures, and our reporting system and everything else that we have to do, but it's drastically reduced.
Very good.
And is there a lateral bonus for officers like that?
Yeah, so in policy, it is through the town policy on the handbook, I can give credit for up to 5 years of service somewhere else. And we even extended that to the correctional officers, because what they learn in the jail is invaluable too. Learning to talk to people, deal with people, like that's a unique skill set all its own. So we do that, but only with the pay. And so and that's something that I think we need to consider moving forward when contract time comes around, is being able to allow them to buy into our pension too. Because particularly when we were hiring from the jail, I'm curious how this salary is going to impact that. But when we were picking up from there, they were already embedded in the same pension system as the sheriff's department, so they can easily slide over there, right, and keep those 3 years of service. Here they can't, but wouldn't it be great if they could buy that time in, and then we still stay competitive with the sheriff's department in that regard? We almost lost. We actually almost lost Chandler because of that, and then we went back and said, no, let's also include those people that were in corrections, certified corrections in that. So we do that, and that saves us so much money, but we've been able to retain them because of that. Because Sheriff's Department actually had an offer, he had an offer on the table to go back. And they were going to let him buy his time back, not just from the jail, but also from EPD. So he's really hoping that we open that up and let him buy into it. So I know one of the questions is going to be, well, what's this going to mean? Like, right, like if you do lose some people, because what I've done is in your booklet, you'll see, my capital budget. I always ask for a lot. I know I do, but we take a lot. This year, you're going to see, you're going to have the basic from Mike Devine, who says I need something. That's in there. I think the whole town needs that. You're going to see there's one request for a replacement of a K-9 car. That would be great if I get that. If I don't, honestly, I'm going to upfit another one of our cars for that. But what I'm asking for is a significant pay increase to make us competitive with the Sheriff's Department. It's a big ask. And I know that, and the officers know that. But these numbers scare me. And I hope they scare you too, to the extent that it drives you to action. What I will say is, I think you have two options with that. I think you could do it all in July. And you might be able to do half in July and then kick the can down and do the other half January 1st. I think that if they know that the commitment is there and that they're going to get that increase, I think that what EPD has to offer to them and our culture is going to keep them here. But that's a big ask, and I know that. I also will just proffer to you that we've been carrying some vacancies. We now, with Edmonds, and I can see at a glance where our budget is, we're going to have some savings there this year. And so that might help offset some of those costs, at least initially. But I also feel, as chief, it's my job to tell you what this is going to look like, right?
Yep.
If it doesn't happen.
Yep.
And I just want you to be, I want to be very transparent with you if that doesn't happen. And if I do lose several officers, what's going to happen is there's going to be absolutely less opportunity for those growth opportunities that you'll see people keep talking about even in those responses that you've got. Our special units, right? We'll have to do away with our street crimes unit. We'll pull from it, not put more people in there, depending on how low it gets, how low we go. You know how long it takes, a year and a half or so to get somebody brand new, to get them out of the academy and on the road. So it's not like it's something that happens quickly. We will have longer response times to calls. That's a potential that could happen because we're going to have to prioritize, like we always do, our calls. But if we don't have the people or manpower out there to do it. I'm a little worried that there's some solvability issues there where maybe we won't solve. We're pretty good at solving crime. Our detectives do a fantastic job, but that also starts at the onset when the first officer gets on the scene, preserving that evidence, recognizing some of that evidence. These investigations that are being done in the back for our street crimes unit and our CID, they take a lot of time. Writing the search warrants, doing the search warrants. We've filtered some of that into our patrol. We allow our patrol officers, when manpower allows, to take their cases as far as they can, because that helps them too to grow and helps them learn, prepares them for those positions back in CID and street crimes. The reality is we'll be a reactive police force and we will no longer be so proactive. I think it's because we've been so proactive that we've been able to at least manage our crime volume, to be honest with you. And I tell all the other chiefs I keep trying to push crime out of Elkton and into their jurisdictions. I think Northeast feels it a little bit. I read some of their crime plots. But, you know, that's the reality of it. You're not going to see officers out patrolling quite as much, and the traffic enforcement will definitely go down. In worst case scenario, if I lose grant funding for the SROs, I would have to pull out of the schools because that's not an enforcement thing. So the priority just will shift to a reactive focus. The other thing I will say, because I always know it's in everybody's mind. You keep asking us for your law enforcement. What about all of our other civilians in town, all of our other employees? I know that that our HR department is going to probably advocate for an increase for them, and I fully support that. But what I will say is I'm not asking for a significant increase for my civilian staff. They're vital to us, but I will say that they cannot walk out the door today, get a similar position making 20 or 30% more than what they're making right now. But your officers can, and they are. So that's pretty much everything. I know you probably weren't expecting this to turn into like this budget thing, but that's really where we are in this agency. That's been my priority. I know that Commissioner Gibbons has brought it up a couple times with officers leaving and stuff, where are we with staffing? And I felt like I had to do this and let you know exactly where we were and what this looks like for us. So, you have a police department that you can be proud of. You just need to try and keep it.
Chief, thank you.
Thank you
It's
very
good.
much.
Thank you
for
for
your
everything.
Good information.
I promise you, it hasn't fell on deaf ears. And I did have one question for you before you sneak off.
Absolutely.
Is how's your space?
We are managing, I don't know if you've been upstairs recently, but we worked with Chip and they have made that into a much better training space for us. So we can actually move up and do our roll calls up there if we need to. And we've been trying to work and just improve our space down here. I would love to take our roll call room and make that a patrol room, so they can have a better space to work on too, when they're doing their reports and other stuff. We're managing, but it's a concern. We talk about it over the next 5 years, there's definitely going to have to be some action taken on that. The only thing I would say is, I know you guys are going to think about this. You guys always do. You listen to me. I appreciate that. You're responsive. What I would ask is, sometimes it's how it comes out too. That's pretty important. I would ask that you let me know, and that you let me know as soon as you know what your decision is going to be on this. I would love to have, when I first became chief, I had a department-wide meeting, kind of set some expectations, but let them voice their concerns too. I would love to do something like that again, and then include this in your response in this. So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Chief. All right. Gene Minner, come on down.
That is a hard act to follow.
Excellent. Thank you.
Could you leave? Well done. Well done. Shannon. Oh, Shannon.
Should have ordered pizza today. Those officers would have got us a couple of pizzas back here. Yeah. Listen, we might have something special for yeah.
Because that, I mean,
I can promise you I can get that done, but he asked me for a couple things today too that I'm gonna let you know. Okay, Gene.
I don't have a big PowerPoint presentation. I did provide everyone with a list of the projects that have been, we've been working on throughout the year, and I can tell you we are real popular. Most of the properties in town have at least somebody taking the tires on it. Projects that have been sitting dormant are now becoming active again, which is great. So, but the list that you have is separated into residential developments and commercial developments. And maybe the last 5 or so projects under commercial are ones that are somewhat dormant, but the rest of them are active. So we've had quite a workload with the number of projects coming to the town. I've never seen it this busy before. And I don't know if does anyone have any questions about some of the projects, because I've got other categories.
I actually do have a couple comments. Tenby Ridge is where?
It's on Money Lane.
Is that Buddy's Ridge?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I wasn't 100% sure with that. Okay.
Is that Elmer's project?
Yes.
Okay, and, all right, I can come back to a couple of those questions.
but all these projects are active.
Yes, you've got
Okay.
the residential projects. Tenby Ridge is sort of in a holding pattern because of issues with Money Lane access, as is Patriots Landing.
Okay.
But as soon as those issues are resolved, we would like to move forward.
Who are there issues with? The county?
Cecil County for access to
The county.
to the road,
Yeah, okay,
yeah. Safety issues and road improvement issues.
yes.
Do you want to continue?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
sorry, I didn't know if you had any
I'm
questions.
like bounce back.
There's a number of grants that we are administering. Oh, by the way, so the planning department, it's myself and Quinn Krenzel, and half of Sherry. I share Sherry with Chet.
Do you need another body?
Yeah, we are gonna need another body.
Okay.
Yeah,
Would
I
you
was-
like to have, like, I guess my question would be, could we bring on an engineer on staff that would help with reviews, and maybe we wouldn't have to take those reviews out?
No, you're gonna need the expertise of different categories of engineers, civil engineers. So within KCI, we have the civil engineers, we have the folks that are focused on water and sewer, like Ligi and Ryan, they run the modeling for that. John Burkowski is the traffic engineer, so he attends the traffic studies. He's very knowledgeable about traffic engineering, traffic planning. So we've been, with respect to engineering, we're really happy with KCI. We are going to meet with them and talk to them about their reviews and ensure that it's being done as efficiently as possible.
Okay.
We are also looking at our fee schedule, and the fee schedule that we charge developers hasn't been raised in a while. So we're, Sherry and Quinn are working together, and with Chip also for his fees, to update those fee schedules, which are in dire need of updating.
Yeah, I'd actually like to be involved a little bit with that, with the fee schedule side. And I still would like to bring, at some point, I'd like to do kind of an audit to see where we're at with fee schedules and what we go
Yes.
back out and so
Yes.
forth. Because I know there's a little bit going through it's no one's fault, it just happens.
Well,
But-
we never, until we had Edmonds, and saw, in detail where things were going, and some of them were going in the wrong departments
Yeah.
in the past. This is much better for bookkeeping,
Oh, good.
yes. Now, it does
That might be one of the
require,
first positives that we heard, right?
Yeah.
yeah, it
Well,
does
she said
require
she
a lot
liked
of
it too.
time with Quinn and Sherry to work on this. They spent a lot of time, a lot more time on bookkeeping than we ever did in the planning department. It was just finance handled everything prior to
Okay.
this.
I actually saw Chip on Edmonds today. He was trying to get a bill paid on Edmonds,
So-
but I thought he said he was going through Edmonds.
You're getting things put in the right place.
Yes, yes.
You're
we're-
discovering,
Yes, things that might have been missing. There's
Things
actually a
that
couple
were
things I have to
missing,
talk
okay.
to Nicole about, but.
That's good.
I'm not sure where they went. And that these were from
Right, and this can
one was 2
reflect
years ago,
too.
one was last year.
Right, now, let me ask you this, the KCI billing, that's a lump fee that we pay them? I mean,
No,
at the
they're-
end of the year, what we pay them includes more than just you.
So when they invoice us, they categorize what it is that they're billing us and
Right.
how many hours and who worked, which
Right,
engineer
but is
worked
that
on it.
separate from when Lewis uses KCI for a project?
Now, they usually have
Well, it depends,
project
like, for
numbers.
example, we use KCI for project manager for the Route 40 project
Correct,
because of the complexity. Well, that comes under water.
I know, but is that figure incorporated in the total amount that we've paid KCI for the year? If we look at, okay, we paid KCI X amount of money for fiscal year, 24, does that include her department, your department,
Dan's department.
Dan's department, Chip's
Well, it
department?
should be shown in the water. I don't see Dan here.
Yeah, I'll interject.
I'm just
So,
wondering what the true number is that we're actually,
It's different.
So if
Hey.
if we pull up the vendor, as far as KCI and how
Yes.
much we paid, it's going to give you the total of what we paid
that's
them.
my question.
Mhm.
Okay, but it represents
Individual billing for different projects, yes.
not just you and plan review.
No, and it's,
Okay.
the plan review is broken down by project, by the individual project that you see
Okay.
listed here.
That's even better.
Yeah, it is a good system because you can at least see everything. You can, if there's an issue, you can catch it right away, which wasn't the case in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, we're administering grants for the Holly Hall acquisition,
Oh,
which, David's not here to provide an update on that. Has Do you have an update on that, Willis? The Holly Hall acquisition?
I'm sorry?
The Holly Hall acquisition? Do you have an update on?
No.
Okay. Armory, lead paint abatement project, I've developed the request for proposals. We just signed the grant agreement with them. So we will be going forward with putting out the request for proposals for the lead paint abatement. Elk Landing, we have 2 grants there, one for the stone house to perform a engineered structural analysis, because a portion of the wall is failing and it's impacting that corner fireplace. And then the other one is to complete the master bedroom and slave quarters, former slave quarters up there. So we're going to be working on that right away. Interesting and exciting information. The National Park Service has taken an interest in the site, brought down signage, large signs for us, with the National Park Service symbols on it, because we are on the Washington-Rochambeau Revolutionary Trail. They're getting ready to celebrate America's 250th anniversary commemoration, and actually National Park Service was down at Elk Landing twice. Once, the second time, they brought some historic architects and they took a lot of photos. They want to help us with promoting that site. And I think there was you had received, Mayor, a letter from, who was that? A gentleman, Victory Towns, Brad Fay, Victory Towns. So this is another organization that wants to highlight the individual municipalities along the trail and provide assistance with us commemorating that. So
Nice.
I didn't see the letter, but I'll try to track it down.
Okay, I'm sure I have it.
Okay. But and that's a great resource. And I'm not sure if you realize this or not, but Paula Newton is chairing sort of an ad hoc committee to kind of coordinate all the towns in Cecil County for the celebration, so we can kind of coordinate events like a 5K at Patriots Glen, there's things at Elk Landing. We're sort of in the very beginning stages of this, but we've got to move fast because 2026 is coming up.
It's coming in, it's going to be here fast enough.
Yeah, and the National Park Service will publish our events on their website.
Wow.
So, a lot of buzz on that. There's a flood grant application that's pending. Actually, there's 2 of those that are currently pending before the DNR. And there was we received a Doughboy grant, a grant to take a look at the drainage around the Doughboy statue, because there were some concerns that there may be some kind of water damage or something. And I was having trouble getting that off the ground. Entails excavating around the statue to analyze the drainage, and so we're working on that. And this is just for an analysis.
Gene, you mentioned flood controls grant. One of the things that I know that's important for this board is that we want to get a flood control project moving in some way.
Yeah.
And I think that what we need to do is I'll get with you and maybe we can figure out how we can get that committee together, some type of committee that could push us a little bit with information where it's not always, we'll have some teammates. And
Right.
I can tell you that there's several folks on Main Street that want to be part of that. In fact, our commissioner here to my far left, as well as Brittany Schwartz and Tom Miner from Frederick Ward, they have all talked about interest of being on a committee that could help drive the flood control project.
Yeah, if you recall, Rodantis did
Yes.
the study, and then with that study, I had applied for funding for the phase 1 of that, for detailed engineering that we could then put out for construction.
Perfect.
So we're waiting to hear back.
That'd be great. I guess
Yeah.
it'll all come together and we'll have something going that way.
Yes, and it is important to have local input, you know. I was approached by someone regarding community development block grant funding for a special project, and it was a good project. Unfortunately, the CDBG program is on hold because of federal funding cuts. That's a federal grant. Under other projects that we're dealing with, we have engaged Wallace Montgomery for the comprehensive plan update. We have draft critical area ordinances, updates for the local critical area ordinance that we are required to update. That'll be coming before you soon. Also, the forest conservation ordinance needs to be updated, and that'll be coming before you, but it's like entire chapters. Source water protection plan update, Papadopoulos is working on that. They did it back in 2013. And then with this, we'd like to incorporate more clear language with respect to wellhead protection areas and the mapping for that. And then we're also updating the fee schedule. We've had a lot of annexations come in, and I had a meeting with KCI with Luigi and Ryan and other staff regarding our water and sewer capacity for additional annexations. Wanted to make sure that all these projects that go in front of you and anything proposed by the annexations could be accommodated by the town. So you've got 405 and 407 West Pulaski Highway, and the Triumph Industrial Park one coming before you for approval. There's another one on Maloney Road that was just advertised, and that'll be coming before you in May, the end of May. There were some other annexations where there seemed to be a conflict between a previous annexation and the proposed annexation with respect to the boundaries of the town. So I reached out to the engineer of a consulting firm that prepared the annexation map for the original Ayers project, and he directed me to the surveyor, and I reached out to the surveyor, and he's going to contact me this week to try to hammer out what the differences were between his survey and the survey that was prepared by the other applicant for the Ayers property. There's actually three tracts of land on Bell Hill Road that are pending, and it's the balance of the Ayers property, 100 Bell Hill Road, and Red Cloud has formerly owned by Barry Montgomery. I think it was Knights in 95 or something, it used to be called.
Exciting time.
There's another Maloney Road annexation that's pending. They are asking if they could be annexed and just defer hooking up to water and sewer until the utilities are down Maloney Road and accessible to them. But I believe Lewis indicated that our own annexation requirements prohibit that. So.
Yeah, I denied it.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going down Maloney Road.
And this is where there's a large tract of land next to the first warehouse off Town Center Drive. It's right behind it.
Does it connect to our town?
Yes. There's currently Buffalo.
Buffalo?
And how do you access it?
Maloney Road.
I think it's, the fellow was in here, if I'm not
He
mistaken.
wanted to put a training center there.
A training
Of some
center.
sort.
Does he need our water and sewer? Will we get his town taxes
He
or
seemed
no?
to feel that they could utilize the existing well and septic on the site, but I think against our annexation policy.
Then what do we've had a couple of these annexations that
For
we don't
zones.
require.
A lot of it's for
Water and
zones.
sewer.
Mhm.
So it boils down to zoning.
Is-
What will
Is it
allow
ours?
that the county will not
It's,
allow?
isn't that property commercial?
It's
not
zoned residential.
Residential.
Yeah, so it's zoned residential, so the county would have to consent to the change in zoning, just like with the,
Also, they want to bring it in as commercial.
And
that they would like to.
In the middle of,
that's why they requested not to have water hook up sewer, but why would that stop them if they're taking out the water and sewer? That shouldn't stop them from annexing in town.
Because of our annexation policy. The other opposite question would be, why wouldn't they just request a
Change in
change
zoning
in
from the
zoning,
county.
a rezoning in the county? But a lot of times for a spot zoning like that, as a matter of fact, all the time, for a spot zoning like that in the state of Maryland, you have to prove change in the character of the neighborhood or a mistake in the original zoning. Change in the character of the neighborhood, we might be able to make that
I
argument.
think they could
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
So really, they don't need it. Their play would be to go to the county and ask for a zoning rechange. Because either way, the county has to approve the rezone.
Correct.
Yes, that's probably their
I
play.
wouldn't want to be on the hook anyway for water and sewer there.
Well, we wouldn't be. Would we?
I mean, if we annex it in the town, how do you know what's gonna happen down the road?
There should be a clause put in there, if they want to annex
Well,
it.
if the wells
a
fail, what
clause.
are they gonna do?
There just should be a clause that put in annex without water and sewer until water and sewer becomes available. That's what most people do.
Most of the other properties that had come into town and didn't need the town services already had services through others, either through the county or through Artesian. But they wanted the zoning in order to construct what they wanted to construct within that area.
But what Lewis has mentioned is that it's currently in our annexation agreement. It's this,
Policy.
the policy wouldn't, this wouldn't fall within our policy as it is today. And I'm almost, I don't mind reaching out to him. I know the guy that was applying also, and his play should actually be to ask for the county for a rezone if he doesn't need our water and sewer.
Yeah.
And to get our water and sewer, I'm kind of like, we could put off that, you could say it'd be at your cost if your water and sewer failed. I wouldn't want to have to run it down Maloney Road just for that site if it did fail, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Some of the other annexations we had were north of town, and there's constraints with the existing water and sewer conveyance systems in that area because there's just limits. You're either going through the existing town system or you're going through the Duval Road system, which have limitations. And that's actually what the hookup fees, the water and sewer connection fees are used for, is to then make improvements to the conveyance system. So we kind of want to make sure that we protect that fund and then plan to, if we want to continue to grow within our designated growth area, the current designated growth area, make sure that we can extend water and sewer facilities so that developments aren't held up in annexing and developing their plans. But yeah, there's about 300 or 400 homes would like to come in north of the town, property to be developed into 300 or 400 homes.
Yeah, it's an older system up there.
You're already coming through the town system, yeah. Or Blue Ball system, which has limiting spans.
Yeah, I remember that from something, another project.
Would that be hooked into Artesian up there? No? North of us? Is that an Artesian district?
I have to check, you might be correct, but they would purchase the water from us and then, or if they wanted to back off the franchise area in that area.
Gotta get sewer up there anyway.
Very good.
So, I'm not sure if there was
A little bit busy.
any other questions. Yeah, we've been a little bit busy. It's,
Yeah.
Gene, I know we have, the Southfields project is,
oh yes, that was the other thing. So Southfield's PUD, they had expressed the desire to perhaps amend the PUD language in which they came in. And I think it has to do with the ratio of the housing that we wanted to, we were trying to promote the housing we didn't have, which was single-family homes, condominiums, and senior housing. And then that was required to be 60% of residential development in PUD, and then the 40% could be multifamily homes or single-family attached. And so I see Ryan's here. I had spoken to him, we're going to meet and talk about exactly what it is they're requesting, and then provide some information to the board to make a decision.
Yeah, I'd like to know more about the senior housing.
and I certainly, my personal opinion, it only makes sense to include it into the PUD, get it into the special taxing district.
Can you change that? Can that be changed or added to?
Yeah, I think the PUD can be added to.
Okay.
So I guess what the question was, I actually had a call from the developer asked me about the PUD language to add that.
Right, to amend that language.
To amend that language. And the question came, and I think they wanted so that there wouldn't be any bouncing back and forth between, let's say, whether they hired MRA, or if they hired Frederick Ward, or if they hired XYZ. The question was asked whether they could hire KCI just to write the language. Well, I know, I saw what your email was, but I guess what my question is, why couldn't they hire it's two different, is it two different groups at the KCI?
Well, I don't know, to write the language,
Yeah.
Last time we drafted that language, it was Lisa,
Yeah.
Laxon, myself, I'm not sure if Terry was here then, and the developer. We talked with them and we kind of went through it, and that's how it was developed before. I don't believe KCI was involved in it.
So did Morris and Ritchie write the language?
They helped prepare a draft of what they were hoping we could, accept. And then we tweaked it to what we thought was the best in the best interest of the town.
So how do you think we should proceed?
You can do it the same way. You can do it the same way. I don't know that you need engineers on this. This is more of a land use kind of planning kind of document.
To add it into the PUD language?
Yes.
I'm
To
gonna put
amend
the-
the plan unit development chapter of the zoning ordinance.
And what's it for, to include additional land?
I'm not sure, so I would have to meet with Brian and find out exactly what it is that may need to be amended. And then if it's acceptable to the planning commission, will make a recommendation to the board to amend it.
Yeah, I can tell you they're wanting to add the land across 213, across from Southfields. They acquired that land and it goes back, it kind of closes out everything. There's no enclaves now.
And down to Whitehall Road, right? That's what we were shown, possibly?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
there are a couple of properties that are not included in this.
Housing and commercial, right?
I'm not sure, I haven't seen the plan
Well,
yet,
you
so-
weren't here, I guess, at that meeting? or
No, mm-mm.
When they came in?
I was here.
No,
I wasn't here.
She wasn't.
Jean wasn't here. So I think that'd be good. You'll
Yeah.
get with Ryan and you'll bring us some information.
We need tax base to help with our bottom line.
Yeah.
That's good.
They have to.
Yeah, we want to get those tax, we gotta
But
get
you're
that
gonna hire
assessment
more
tax
taxes,
base up.
so.
My gosh, the chief's wanting more money,
So
we gotta get this
we-
assessment base up.
If we include the
You
property,
kidding?
then the ratios will change?
Well, that's just it. I wanted to take a close look at what it is. I heard there were some unusual types of housing that was requested, and I'm going to try to figure out how that's going to be categorized.
Yeah.
It may not be considered multifamily if it's,
That's a whole
You know,
different
yeah.
conversation.
yeah, so
They're, what are they called?
villas, I believe they were
Triplexes?
calling them
Villas?
something like that, yeah.
It's not a duplex, it's a,
Isn't it a 55, almost like a 55 plus?
I think it was age targeted was.
well,
was some
I
of them.
want clarification on that.
Yeah.
It's either 55 and plus or not.
What was proposed was age targeted, which is just a marketing designation. It's not a formal designation of age restriction.
Gotcha.
So there is no age restriction
Not with what was proposed.
with the villas?
Yeah, we could do age restricted by right now, already.
D1, the small parcel adjacent to Whitehall, was targeted as senior housing.
Exactly.
Well, let's get you two together and we'll get that language rolling.
I just got one more question, or two questions. The old 7-Eleven building, anything going in that?
You know,
It
you
says
have
right
to
here.
ask Chip.
Oh,
I'm not
Project
sure.
is paused.
We have not heard from anybody.
Interesting.
Okay, and then one more question. I thought the ice cream place closed as far as,
I heard it's back open, but they are looking to sell it. The one on
I thought
40?
they sold it to the property.
No, apparently
The other
he
boroughs.
didn't meet their price. I just heard this at the planning commission in Wisconsin.
It just went.
But I have never been there, so I don't know anything before they close.
You went to ice cream place?
Before they
Well, I
close.
know it's open again, but I was just wondering, I thought it was
We're going
closed.
after that.
Hope
All
they
right.
stay open.
Thank you.
Well, actually, I had a couple.
Uh,
So I know that there was a little hiccup on the heirs property with some language. Can you guys get together and try to figure out what we have to do there?
So that was the annexation,
Yeah.
and I have a call into the gentleman that worked for that was the surveyor for the original heirs. And his name is Jay Philippone. He's with Entrust, and he's gonna call me tomorrow And I'm gonna talk to him about it, and I wanna show him what I received from, I believe it was Fred Ward, and his survey. And
Okay.
because if that's incorrect, if his survey is incorrect, we have to amend our town boundary, because that's what was adopted as our new town boundary when the original Ayers was annexed.
Okay.
So that is kind of I wanna make sure we get that right. I don't wanna send the state incorrect town boundaries.
Okay. Anything else for Gene?
Thank you, Gene.
You're welcome. Did you have a fun planning commission meeting? Do you want to come again?
I enjoyed it.
Gene,
I was bored.
Do you think that those projects on Muddy Lane will ever get done?
So that's part of the East Elkton transportation study area, and yeah, something's going to have to be done with that road. And the number of accidents of people hitting that bridge, the railroad bridge, is just crazy. Something will have to be done. There was one of the gentlemen that lived in the area had recommended, instead of going deeper, because he said there's a stream there and it's just going to be underwater, they go deeper under that existing bridge, was to go over, but sort of at an angle. Possibly, but that was one of the things with the letter that we sent to the state highway for the annual transportation needs study, or letter we sent. I believe I included something about the Bell Hill intersection because of all the activity going on at Bell Hill. And I think Stephen O'Connor, the planner of the county, may have included something with either Delancey Road or Muddy Lane to have the state start looking at that and provide some kind of assistance with that. But that's going to be a big plan, yeah. So.
Part of the a meeting with the county executive on Monday about the Singerly Fire Company, some of the things that are happening there. But I spoke to him yesterday, and one of his requests to me was for the town to consider, there's nothing anytime soon on the Muddy Lane, and the only way that we'll ever be able to make something happen would be is if we took the road. And also, you know, I just don't know.
Well, I think the reasons the Tenby Ridge and Patriots Landing are on hold is because of the amount of improvements required on that road to make it safe. Tenby Ridge is awfully close to the bridge, and I think there's a safety issue being that close to the bridge abutments. But I would read closely what their traffic analysis says, what their traffic engineers say about the safety of that road. It needs to be brought up, it needs to really be brought up to current standards. It's too small for the amount of traffic. Everyone uses that to get to 95. People in Delaware use it to get to 95.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
I promise this is the last question. What's going on with the Ross store?
Probably be Chip.
Why is it?
I'm not sure what's taking them so long to open.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Ross, Dress for Less.
They've just had a lot of problems, and one was getting power from the other side of the driveway behind them over to the store. And they didn't bury the power before they redid the road, and it's a delay in getting the power equipment. They need a new transformer and all.
Are they getting close?
I hadn't been out there for a while. I don't know if they've done the electrical yet or not, but
I think they put the sign on the building, I thought.
yeah, I believe they got the storefront in, but they put plywood back up on it again. I'll look into it. I haven't been out there.
Thanks,
Do we
Gene.
have an update on Bing's Bakery? Sorry.
Yeah, what?
There's some issues with getting the plumbing in there. They haven't been able to hire a plumber yet because of the logistics of doing the plumbing is very difficult for what they need there.
And then the last thing, where are we at with the pedestrian bridge by Meadow Park?
They're going to drop the bridge deck, and I think between the 14th and the 18th. They're going to close the road to do that.
I did see a road closure, so I figured we were close.
Okay,
I ain't got no more questions.
Finance is up next.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have to take a potty break while
I might.
Okay, you want?
We could, no, I will
Okay, you
have
feel good
some.
to come.
I will have
Nicole.
to.
That's just
Look
planned.
at everybody doing.
I got an hour, make it quick.
Be right back.
Sorry. Oh, I forgot that one.
So, guys.
Huh? What are you looking at me for?
Hello, Nicole.
Hello, Mayor. Did you, I think Kathleen is, you pulled up something. Did you guys get the memo?
Got
Your
it?
memorandum, yes, now I know why I got it. Because I was like, okay, got it.
Got the V-Trans.
I'm trying to get the,
We've got to stop the share at the top.
because I think, well, the problem was with the police department, it looked like it wasn't updated, and I tried to see if they could see it. So I'm not sure
But we'll have to, study shows that they want to take the bridge and kind of go in behind the Cracker Barrel.
Is that right? Not behind it. Yeah, well, you mentioned something like that before.
right now, let me share
my
I don't know about taking that road yet. You know, the air sparkers, you know, the air sparkers, they're gonna get access on there.
I don't know. I think they're trying to.
Well, she's not sharing anything right now.
I think,
So we can let them go on.
I think now,
Yeah.
no, we'll be one that if we took control, we can make the changes.
We have people trying to develop all of it. We're not making them, we're not requiring them to even do it.
We
And
have-
it's not our.
I know.
Yeah.
All right, you ready?
Yeah, Commissioner Matthew left. I'm looking.
Oh, we can start
I
without
thought
him.
he wasn't allowed to leave.
All right.
All right, so just kind of just have a brief, like high-level overview was provided in front of you as far as what's been going on the last 4 months since I stepped in as interim. So as you know, the FY24 financial audit was completed. Since then, I've been strengthening the internal controls and improving compliance, and just making the overall core operations that we do within finance a little more efficient along the way. So simultaneously, because we know FY25 audit will be coming up within 3 months, some of the things that we ran into or had issues with along the way, we have been trying to kind of correct those to make the next audit a little more smoother. We can hopefully get through a little faster, things of that nature.
Perfect.
So the next, the next section I have, like just a kind of, again, brief overview of like the key accomplishments that have occurred within the last 4 months. I've already emailed you guys the actual P-card program that is going to kind of get launched and it's underway with the credit card policy that will go hand in hand with that. And I think Commissioner Gibbons, you had raised a question as far as like when that will be launched.
When that'll be launched and how you're going to incorporate all the holders into that so they can understand and learn, yes.
Yeah, so that's, right now, because we're heavy in the budget, the actual implementation of that is, as you could say, somewhat on hold for a couple of weeks. So, and that's just because I have to actually create that with the software, upload everything, and get all of the staff information into that. So essentially, once the audit was completed in February, we immediately moved on into the budget process. So that kind of pushed us back a little bit calendar-wise, if you want to think fiscally finance, how you would operate. So with that being said, the budget process has officially started in March. That first week, we had to get trained within Edmonds and figure out actually how to produce the level reports that I had given out to the departments. From there, we are actively in the process of putting the budget together.
And then, as you all know as well, like the business personal property tax, like all the billings for those have been completed for the year. We do still get occasional reports, they come in bi-weekly from the state. So we do still get some as businesses are submitting their tax returns. So you're gonna potentially always have that recurring, but the reports are getting more, condensed until the next.
Do we bill as they come in then,
We do.
is what we're gonna do?
That is
Okay.
happening now, yes.
Okay,
As they come
perfect.
in, we're billing.
Perfect.
Yeah, so we haven't, since Don has started in February, and they have a 90-day to actually pay those bills, majority of them, or actually all of them, they're not due until May 7th. But we have seen some of those receivables come in as far as the billing.
And I think in some instances, you still have to call people or remind people about that, to get that in that 90-day period. At least Virginia was saying something like that the other day.
No, Don had posed, which was a great idea, and I told him to go ahead and do it. He had posed for some of those who have not paid yet to kind of send out a reminder invoice, like, hey, this is due. Because we are going to enforce the penalty, which is all right for the town. I think it's like 1.5%. Previously, that has not occurred, so we are going to enforce that penalty for those who do not pay time.
What was Virginia referring to?
That's probably what he was talking about.
What she just mentioned,
that?
she
Same
must have
thing?
had it off, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so we're gonna send, a letter, another bill and a letter, kind of letting them know, you have to pay this, or we're gonna put the fee on. And the fee just will continue to, charge.
So we're talking property tax and vendor?
This is the business personal property.
Just the, okay.
Yeah, because we don't handle the personal that goes from the county, and they.
Yeah,
So some of the other opportunities that I would like to bring to your attention, that I've kind of started with, would be the ACH processes. Because currently, as you know, we're mailing out checks. So the issue that we're having with the checks, they're getting lost. A lot of vendors are saying they're not paid, and then we have to recut the checks. If we go with ACH, that's eliminating mailing the checks, so that should eliminate the cost for postage and the cost for purchasing these checks. Also the time for you guys to sign all of these checks. And just the security standpoint, because we have, just to kind of be candid, it can also just speed up the time that they receive payment as well, which may be a good point for businesses, the vendors who want to do business with us.
Is that gonna go through Redmond?
It would, yes.
And is there gonna be a fee?
No. And then one thing I want to bring, and it also just would enhance security, because we have came across, with Fulton, one of our checks was stolen from a vendor, and it ended up in Georgia somewhere. So that had posed a problem, and it was funny because as I was having this conversation with the bank to actually implement something called positive pay, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. So we are now currently doing positive pay. And what that does, so it kind of, that's also why the last check batch kind of slowed up, why it was also a minimal amount, because we now are sending a report to the bank, and we have to wait for them to say, yes, we are okay, to then go ahead and pay the vendor. And so if a check is presented, and the bank hasn't had that clearance, it's going to reject that payment. So that's the fraud protection, and detection behind doing that. And that would be automatic with ACH, but, so right now, we are implementing that due to a check being stolen out of the mail.
Okay.
Yeah.
We touched base on the fee that Edmunds is charging for people to pay their bills online. Is that being looked at? You said you were going to look at that?
Yes, right after we had the conversation, I had reached out to the contact who's been doing a lot of these upgrades for us with Fulton, and asked that they do have a point of sale machine, but they haven't gotten back to me as far as what the fees would be. It has to also operate and work in tangent with Edmunds, because currently if they swipe their cards, it's instant on the account. So I don't want to, at Fulton has to be able to do that.
Yeah, I don't know, but charging these
Yeah,
fees to the residents just because they want to pay their bill.
Right.
I don't mind, I can understand a minimum fee, but not a percentage fee.
Right.
Based on,
And we might be able to negotiate that. Maybe we get Edmunds in here and ask them that question. I'd be happy to ask them. All they have to do is say no, but I think that they could probably just give us a flat fee instead of a percentage of fee. Because some people have a $400 utility bill, and if they have to pay 9%, that's $36. And if you pay your bill and you're a $200 bill, you're at $18. It just should be a flat fee.
I know, we're trying to pay your bill.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand there's fees now, but that just seems a little excessive.
We'll figure that one out.
Yeah, I can even,
Yeah,
hold
ask
that
them.
question. Yeah, yeah.
Flat fee.
Yeah. And so then lastly, we're just in the process of, just reviewing and reconstructing the fund balances for like the general fund, water fund, the various funds. Just to ensure like our beginning balances are accurate, everything is classified. So that way, when you look at the lovely, like that viewpoint or that data viewpoint that comes up, you are looking at accurate numbers. It may have, you might have seen a lot of red, as I've explained before, we needed that extra person. So Don has been a great add. We have been doing the reconciliations and moving all the manual journal entries that we have to do, so that way you do have accurate information within admins that you can view at any time.
That'd be great. I know when we were doing our budget this year, we made a commitment through resolution R2-2024 that we were, by the end of fiscal '29, we're going to have a set amount in the fund balance for a rainy day fund of 5%. Love to have it a little bit higher than that, but we're going on a little bit of an incline to get there, so we want to make sure that the information that we receive is very accurate, because I don't want to, listen, we've got payroll that we need to balance here, increases in COLAs, and also we have to make sure that we have the right amount by resolution into our accounts also. So all that's going to be very helpful for us.
And that kind of just summed up, like I said, I was kind of short and sweet. I don't know if you guys have any questions.
The P card program launch, the credit card, will that card be for department heads?
Yes.
And they'll delegate it to that person to go down and swipe it? So let me use an example. American Home and Hardware, where we can buy a lot of items. So we really wouldn't have an account. We just go there and swipe the card and it'd be paid for?
Yes.
Immediately?
Yes. And then what they would need to do is save that receipt, upload the receipt, because you still have to follow the same, accounting guidelines with accounts payable and things of that nature. So they still would have to upload their receipt as they would with anything else to justify.
Okay. But then there wouldn't be a need for a billing to American Home, or billing would be to?
It's already been paid, yep.
Gotcha. I think that could improve the process.
Yes.
And we want to hook that up to Charlie's hotel points?
What hotel?
Well, listen, quite frankly, if we did hook that up to the town credit card in a proper way, when we go to our events, our training events, like Maryland Municipal League, training events for the planner, Parks and Rec, or whatever it may be, we might be able to use those points for discounted rates at the hotels. We should try to take advantage of that.
I agree, and I highly suggest, instead of, like currently, they're putting in purchase orders for like hotel stays, it's best to do credit cards. You have more protections that way.
Yeah.
It's already paid for, sometimes they'll get discounts, so it all ties in.
Yeah,
I would suggest
that'd be good. We'll have to figure out how we can hook that up to the right point process. I think the town of Havertz Grace had so many points to 1 year when they went to this, they were able to buy that car.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't it? You remember we sat there and they said that they were using their credit card for all the purchases, and at the rebates back, they had enough to buy that electric car for the town administrator.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Was it Tesla?
It was a Tesla.
When I buy one of those.
We're gonna have you in that Tesla truck. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
All right, next we have, who do we have next? Is that you, Mary, or Andy? Come on down, Andy. We'll have on my agenda.
Did I take it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, he had something there to give us. Sean, do you have this one?
I do.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yep. Hold on one second.
Over here.
Right right on it?
No, he had something in here. Was it one from the HR there?
I don't think so, but I lost my agenda. Oh, there it is, I got it. Earl had it.
I stole it from me.
So Andy, tell me when you're ready.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna get you to answer the question about the marijuana policy, and if a employee has a medical card, and then they had to get randomly tested, but they had a medical card, how does that come into play?
We get lost up.
Is it in violation to our policy, or help me understand that?
Can you have marijuana in your system and operate vehicles?
Well, I think the challenge here is it's a legal substance. You gotta help me understand.
Sure. So there's each position in the town, each job description, we have to evaluate whether it's a safety sensitive position.
Okay.
So that means, like, if that position in their work task could, if they're under the influence, impact another person or persons' safety.
Okay.
So let's say I'm a police officer, I'm under the influence, and I'm on a high-speed pursuit, and I'm not using good judgment because I'm under the influence. That's really a safety-sensitive position. The majority of jobs in the town are safety-sensitive positions. The only exceptions are more like administration.
Mm-hmm.
You have admin clerk, what have you. So we have a random testing group called HireRight, and it's a third-party company that's been doing the pool for the employees for years, and I think it's good because there's a third party doing the selection. So when we have a new employee, we first of all decide, okay, is this person a safety-sensitive position, and it's on the job descriptions. And then they're added to the pool, and then we have two different pools. We have a CDL pool, and then we have a non-DOT or non-CDL pool.
Okay.
And then every quarter, that company generates a pool or selected employees. The CDL pool is a higher ratio. Federally, we're supposed to test them for 50% of that pool. So let's say I have 10 employees that have CDL and DPW. We have to at least test 5 of them throughout the year.
Okay.
Because that's a federal guideline. And out of the 5, 10% of that pool has to be tested for alcohol testing as well.
Okay.
Even though marijuana had somewhat been decriminalized, or recreational marijuana is available in Maryland, that doesn't change the fact that it's still illegal federally. So it's still illegal. When Maryland kind of relaxed their laws as far as marijuana not long ago, I did reach out to Legit. Our policies don't really need to change.
Okay.
We did add in, when I first started working here, what's called a suspicion questionnaire. So if I'm a supervisor in a department, for example, and my employee comes to work and I feel like, oh gosh, I think they're drunk. It actually happened to me years ago where I had a department head call me with an employee that was intoxicated in the workplace. So keep in mind that alcohol is legal, but over a certain limit, it's not. At work, or on the road, it's illegal to be under influence on a certain level. So marijuana, for example, with a medical card, if you have a medical card for marijuana, you're not allowed to have a CDL.
Okay.
Okay, so that knocks that out. All the safety sensitive positions know the policy, and we also inform all the employees when they're hired that you will be randomly tested if you're in a safety sensitive position. So they're aware of that, and it's on their job description. Now, occasionally you might get an employee that, and since I've been here, only have one new hire that had a medical card. Okay. Now, with that, another aspect we have to consider is if someone actually has a legitimate medical marijuana card, then under the American Disabilities Act, if it's a legitimate medical card from Maryland, they have special protections there for the American Disabilities Act.
Okay.
They still cannot be under the influence at work.
Yes.
Okay? So
That's so confusing.
it is very confusing. So if they're at work and we feel that they're under the influence and whatever substance they're on had an adverse effect in their work performance, or let's say they wrecked a car, or God forbid hurt someone on the road, we do have a right to terminate them if they fail the drug test. So right now, we have enhanced the questioning process when we do suspect someone of being under the influence. I will tell you, since I've been with the town over 3 years now, thank goodness, we have, with all the random testing, we haven't had a positive. Now, we've had a couple positives for new hires when we went to, people applied for jobs and they didn't pass and we had to rescind their job offer. But since I've been here for the random testing, no one's failed.
So just, if an employee, non-CDL, related to safety of others, has a medical marijuana card, and they don't appear to, and they take their gummy for pain, not for highness.
Right.
And there should never be they should never be a suspect for any, I guess, we wouldn't suspect them to be drugged or to be, right? There would be no need for them to be tested unless the random test came up.
Right.
And if the random test came up and they had a medical
They
card.
should have disclosed that when they were hired. They
Okay.
should, yes.
Very good.
So, yeah.
And there
so
shouldn't be any issue then.
There hasn't been any issue. Things have
Okay.
been.
And I'm not promoting this, I'm just saying there has been, I've been asked
Sure.
by a couple
Sure.
folks.
Yeah. I mean, we had recently where we had a random pool, an employee was selected, the employee was waiting in LabCorp in a long line and got really, really angry because another employee came in because they got pulled too and they were headed in and it wasn't our fault, it was that LabCorp's fault.
Very good. All right, the floor is
anyway.
yours. I think I got enough information.
Okay, thank you.
Did you get the answer?
I can't comprehend.
Ross is not ready to open yet. Okay.
Maybe we just need more CDL.
Yes, maybe.
So I'm going to give you an update on the HR department to date. I know I gave everyone a little pack there of the presentation.
Yep.
I know we've been here a long time today, so I'll try to go through as quickly as possible. So I'm going to give you a head count by department. That's one of the first slides. So this slide is just the topics I'm going to go over. Head count, new hires from 2015 to 225, applicants from 2023 to 2025, our performance review rate, completion rate, budgetary considerations and salaries, and labor market and turnover concerns. So this slide right here is in that packet, gives you a breakdown by each department and the position down below. So you have EPD at the top, DPW, Parks and Recs, Police Support Services, the Mayor and Commissioners, Finance, Building Inspection, all the way down the road. We have right now, the last time I read this report, 144 employees.
Wow.
Change over year over year was at -6, where employees left or retired, resigned. Year to date, -4. This chart here is a breakdown by race for each department. This is kind of like our DAI slide here. So it has you a breakdown for each department as far as different ethnicities with each department. And I think over time we are actually doing really good to have a more diverse workforce and doing a great job there. We still have some work to do, but I think we're getting there to a where hopefully we'll have the employee head count that breakdown really mirror the town. Okay, the demographics of the town.
Right.
Okay, so this is a very interesting when we ran the numbers here, just to show you how busy we've been here in HR, and I want to applaud EPD and Brian David for his recruitment efforts for the police officers. But in 2015, you can see we only had 2 new hires in the whole year. In 2016, 3, 2017. So you really had a really low turnover rate. People stayed at their jobs longer. There wasn't a lot of change. And then around 2021 and 22, things started really changing. And we all know that there have been a lot of changes. People retiring, unfortunately people passing away, people resigning. So right now, for the last few years, 2022, we started with 19 new hires. In 2023, we had 20 new hires. Last year, we had 24 new hires. If you look at it in comparison to the years prior, it's pretty significant.
And I was going to ask that question before you put that up, because 2020 is the year of COVID. But if you look at the trend, you're going from 4, 18, 19, 20, 24, and even this quarter you got 8. So
right.
Is there any significance, or how do you read that?
So one good thing is that there were a lot of changes. There were a lot of changes that, as you know, there are a lot of people who retired, resigned, what have you. So the good thing from that is we're hiring pretty well. The other thing you got to consider is why there's so many new hires. That means there's turnover.
Yeah.
So when you have a lot of new hires, if you're starting an off new business, that's great. I've hired all these new employees, what have you. But when you start seeing such a major change, you got to look at, well, why are we having such a turnover? Okay. Right now, I mean, we already know one department why there's an increased turnover, and the chief has already explained that. But this is the data that we need to kind of keep an eye on to kind of justify any major changes in the future.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have that broken down by department?
I do not, but I have a separate document that can be.
Or
Yeah. I will say last year we had quite a few in EPD that was hired, and Mary had she had to refresh some of her crew there. She had like 6 to 8, I think, new people we hired last year. She had a really severe need, so she had a lot of part-time seasonal people.
Yeah, that could be significant. Go ahead.
Yeah. So since we added Paycor in 2022, this is kind of tracking. There's an aspect in Paycor that helps us with recruitment called Paycor Recruiting. In 2023, we had 613 applicants. So all the job postings throughout the whole year to kind of give you an idea that people do want to work for your town. People do desire, you are an employer that people want to work for. Average time of hire was 36.4. That means from the time that someone applied, we posted the job to the time that we actually filled the job. Through Paycor Recruiting, we have Indeed that we post through Indeed. That's part of the package. Indeed is probably our biggest recruitment tool. We had 416 applications in 2023. Where it says the Elkton website, that means that someone actually goes on our website, goes to the employment section, and applies right there.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
People who are collecting unemployment and have to apply for so many jobs, is that part of it, you think?
It could be. Yeah, that was
Or they
definitely
just
that was
say,
definitely
"I
a that was definitely a phenomenon in COVID. So they were I mean they had to show that they were applying.
Oh yeah. Okay.
2024 numbers are very close to the same. 553 applications. Average time to hire about 45 days, and then high level of applicants received through Indeed, and the same numbers for the Elkton website, about 85. 2025, we're only in the first quarter. We've already received 168 applicants. A little bit longer time to hire. That's because we have a new director of finance that had to give a significant notice. He starts on Monday, but that's why that number's higher than I would like that to be. And then our Indeed applications for the first quarter is 131, and 25 applicants received on the Elkton website. This is our non-sworn employee performance review completion rate. So we started doing, reactivated the appraisals for the employees in 2022. Our completion rate was 86%, and 2023 was 93%. So that's improving as well. I do want to look at, in the future, the next year or so, doing more in-depth training with the department heads and supervisors on appraisals. So that's something that's on my to-do list with the supervisors. Okay, these are the numbers for the Consumer Price Index. I shared this with the board not too long ago. We have, with the agreement with the EPD, the collective bargaining agreement, using the consumer price index numbers for our area for the end of the year of 2024, the highlighted area where it says 3.3, that's part of, that was promised through the CBA that the EPD sworn officers would get a 3.3% COLA on top of their regular merit they get, receive with their appraisals. Fiscal 2026 eligible employees, yeah, I mentioned that. I'm also recommending the board consider a 3.3% COLA for the non-sworn. Keep in mind, you did approve a policy a year and a half, 2 years ago, where their employees are already, if they get a satisfactory appraisal, are going to be eligible for a 3% merit in general. Last slide. So I do share same concerns as the chief. We are one area in the labor market that I'm really concerned is law enforcement. So you know, we have the Cecil County Sheriff's Office that has announced a large increase. Aberdeen, the detention center. We have to worry about these, you know, the disparity in the lateral movements. I don't want to rehash this because the chief's already shared this, but I do support the chief that this is a concern, and also would ask the board and the town administration and the finance department to see what we can do to address this problem. Even if it's not right at the beginning of the new fiscal year, a plan to address this issue, because I'm just concerned that the turnover rate is going to increase dramatically for that position, those positions for law enforcement. And that's pretty much it. I'm available to answer any questions that you might have, follow-up questions.
Andy, I'm looking here at my notes, and I don't have any notes, but I'd like to see you after the meeting.
Yes, sir.
You want to acknowledge Danielle? As a
yes,
part of the team?
everything here, couldn't do it without her, appreciate her. She's actually been very, very helpful with doing a great job with payroll and benefits. She's also did do a great job with the new wellness fair last year. It was the first time I think the town has ever done anything like that. She's really stepped up with the EPD pension administration, kind of working with finance and Bolton and Women to Trust, because we had some officers that did leave, so she's really stepped up and helping that quite a bit. She's also stepped up with the numbers, because normally in the past it was Beth Moran that did the calculations for, you know, if we did a COLA of this amount, what is it going to cost the town? So she's really done a lot of hard work, heavy lifting with looking at or providing those reports to us. So yes, thank you very much, Danielle.
Thank you.
And she has a birthday coming up.
We all do.
We are, yeah, if we're lucky.
Andy, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Mary,
you.
come on down.
Happy birthday.
Whose birthday is it?
Sunday.
Her birthday's coming up.
It's a big one.
What, how big? Well, never mind. No, see, I don't believe you. There's no way. No way.
Oh yeah, I'm in denial.
No, you are not that way. Hi, Mary.
Hello, Mary.
How's everything? I saw your dad. He looked good. Okay.
All right. So tell us what's happening at Parks and Rec.
Yeah, we are busy. I'll just give you, this morning we had preschool program. We had Cecil County Public Schools from our Holly Hall. They brought their preschool over, did a trike event in the gym. We had another class going on, and we had quickly break everything down because the pickleball players were coming in. So we opened the doors and we run until they close.
So your pickleball is like an adult pickleball during the afternoon?
We have scheduled times, but then we have people who come other times, and if the gym's open, we just set up the nets and let them come in and play.
Nice.
You don't have a league,
We don't have a league, no,
so to speak.
not yet. No.
Can you snap some pictures if they'll allow you?
I'll try. They swear I'm sitting in my office and watching on their cameras. You know?
And I think it'd be kind of cool to make a post on a picture like that. Hey,
Yeah.
pickleball. I think people really like, you know, if we can get the message out a little bit more.
So the community center is over 60 hours a week, not including weekend programs or rentals. We run till 9 o'clock almost every day in here. We have some groups that are recurring rentals, but then we get a lot of, one-time rentals. And we've offered over 70 programs in addition to our summer camps and our daily open gym times, and we've had over 3,000 registrations in those programs. We have open gym times every day, which Monday through Friday, which is for walking. We have toddler play, basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Some days you'll have 30 people in there, other days you have 2, but it's just, we offer it every single day. We've had multiple sports leagues, basketball, soccer, local t-ball, volleyball. We still have our dance program going 4 nights a week. That runs from September through May. Our recital this year is on Saturday, May 3rd at 2 o'clock at Elkton High School, if anybody's available and wants to stop by. We did have
say it again.
Saturday, May 3rd at 2 o'clock at Elkton High School.
Recital?
The recital for the dance program.
Saturday, May 2nd.
At 2 o'clock. Our dancers,
2 in the afternoon now.
they performed at the Halloween parade. They did the Northeast Christmas parade. Our dance team also performed at the Wilmington, the Wilmington team.
Blue Rocks?
No, it's the
Basketball.
Is it Blue Coats?
Blue Coats.
And then they actually performed at the 76ers this year.
Really?
They did a performance before the game started.
Oh.
And that was because of being seen at the Blue Coats. So they were able to do that, so.
Are they in our Memorial Day parade?
I don't know. I think we have a problem with the date, because our program ends the beginning of May, and then we start to lose. But
That would be nice.
I can see if they're available.
It needs something like that, I think.
It would be.
But those girls work really hard to do those events, so that was a good opportunity. It was a good opportunity for them. They enjoyed it, so I know that they're hoping to be able to go back again next year to go do those events.
Yeah, what's really nice now is we have the intercom system on Main Street, and that really helps out, I think, with having music and,
But, like I said, we have a lot of rentals. I had 75 rentals logged for 2024, which may not include somebody who booked weekly for 6 months, because sometimes they'll do a large rental at one time. So that may not show every single weekend during there, but 75 there. And we're at 40 already for 2025. So we get a lot of requests for either gym space or just a classroom space, birthday parties, things like that. Cecil County Duty Center is still using the building. Cecil County Department of Social Services Kinship Program uses the building. Cecil County Health Department, Building Healthy Families, they have a program going on right now. We still have the after-school program being run by the Boys and Girls Club. We have several Girl Scout groups that come in and use a classroom space for their weekly meetings. And like I said, the Cecil County Public Schools, they've used it for preschool programs, they've used it for their robotics competitions. So we have I feel like we have a good partnership with a lot of different community groups coming in.
You mentioned the food bank distribution?
Yep, we have the food once a month. We have Maryland Food Bank delivers pallets of fresh fruits and vegetables for people to come in and get. And they usually go through most of that. Like in an hour, it's gone.
What day and time?
It's the second Thursday of the
Second
month.
Thursday of every
And they
month.
start about 10 o'clock.
Wow.
That's pretty popular. People live there.
The Cecil County, their seniors healthy options program, they do a sail class, it's senior staying active for independent living. They have had line dancing, strength training. They do different programs for seniors. They come in sometimes twice a week they're in there. So I feel like we stay pretty busy. occasionally we can breathe, but most of the time we run from 9 AM till 9 PM.
Wow. So let me ask this question. And it probably won't be until maybe the 2 fiscals from now, but if we're able to get the armory lead-free, and we can get the bathrooms done, do you think you and your staff could host, let's say that there was 12 events over at the armory, like trade shows? Do you think your team could handle that?
With the appropriate staff, yes. You always have great staff, and you always have staff that are there.
Perfect.
So we have some, I do have some very good younger people. I've lost a lot of I had people there for 7, 8 years, part-time people that went through high school, went through college, got full-time jobs, and have moved on in life. And we kind of had to start over again. I felt like last year was a little bit rough, just starting over with some of the younger ones, but I do have a couple really good.
Listen, you got 3 retirees up here that can help you anytime you need.
I'm always over there.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we stay kind of busy over there a little bit.
I think one great addition she has over there is the new, the pickleball. You know.
Do you play?
It's like tennis.
I'd like to
it's
play.
It's easier.
I think we should go over and play. I've never played it.
I'd welcome
You got your own, you got paddles over there?
League that you could join, you know, and then.
You don't have as much running to
Do you have a paddles people can use?
So we asked them to bring their own paddles. We set up a couple nets, and I do have balls available.
Oh, so if they're not coming and doing their own pickleball thing, you're doing it, you're
No, they come in and play.
Okay.
We set up the nets, we set up a couple of nets. I'm actually to the point where I'm probably gonna have to, I made 2 courts in there, I'm probably gonna have to make 4.
Wow.
So I think next winter I really will probably need 4. I think that we're gonna start losing people now just because they'd rather be outside playing.
And speaking of,
Yes.
yeah, the nets at Marina Park.
The tennis nets? We just put brand new nets up.
I know, can you remind DPW to get that clean for spring? Make sure it's nice and
The
clean.
courts?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know they went down there, they put up new nets, they put up new screens.
The screen is new?
All that's been done since, I think a couple weeks ago, when it finally started to warm up, we went down there. I had stuff, I was just waiting until I wasn't gonna put it up in the middle of the winter.
And remind them to clean Meadow Park. Like the tables,
Yeah.
all the pavilions and all
I
that
did,
this year.
Brian McQueen did get me a quote to paint the fences down at Marina Park.
A quote?
Yeah, to get them painted.
Fences.
Yeah,
What
to make them around the tennis courts and the basketball court, the fences.
They're probably rusted.
Yeah,
They
were
would look
pretty
nice
rough.
painted because of the rust and all that happens.
Was he
when
gonna
they get
contract
outside.
it to get painted?
Yes. He got a quote for it.
Listen, I see them, I had to do a little work on them.
I can send it to you.
Didn't get good.
Do you have a guess?
Well, it's like 8,300.
Yeah, it might be a little too much. We might want to paint it ourselves.
Right.
That's what I don't understand.
At 8,300, it's a large fee.
We can't even maintain our own equipment, we have to contract it out. I don't get it. But that's not your problem.
Well, Mary, thank you. Make sure you pick us up 4 panels, because we're going to come over and play.
I didn't try, I
We're
tried.
going to try it.
Even Lois could play that.
And
I
listen,
have personal ones there right now.
Well, good. Well, listen, I'd actually encourage the employees to go over during their lunch hour and play a little.
They don't have that
Please no, please no.
I would encourage it for some exercise. Let's all get away. I need it.
Please.
Yes, I'm going to go over and try it. I've never tried it.
That would be fun to challenge the.
Yeah, we'll talk about this, Mary.
I wanted to mention while Mary was here, the parade is on Saturday at 10 a.m. The Elkton Little League Parade is on Saturday, so has nothing to do. I know it's going to probably rain it out, but I wanted to mention that. Anyone have any questions for Mary?
Mary, I got 3 questions. Number 1, did we ever get the switch moved that's
We have,
Okay.
key fob, like, little
Okay.
remotes.
And I know it's been a question several times, the PA system.
Yeah.
Because of emergencies, or in case you want to get in touch with somebody outside when you're inside. Did we ever get someone to look at a price for that?
We have like intercoms in the rooms in the gym, but.
And the last thing is, this is on my agenda, time, yeah, scoreboard. We had a couple people that were gonna donate at one time, but, now one of them's not around anymore, but anyway, can we look into that price? Because it definitely, when we use the one court, I would like to see that come for it. Because it's at the level now where the kids want to really feel the real importance of the game. So, all right.
And for the Juneteenth celebration that's going to be held there, Cecil Community College bring their audio system there. Did they bring that last year? You don't have your own.
We have a couple of speakers and microphones.
Right.
I don't know if somebody brought something other.
Last year, I think Cecil College or someone had brought that. I was just curious.
All right, thank you.
Mary, while you're here, do you have an account for me yet?
No, I was trying to get that, to pull up on my phone, but I couldn't get it to work. I thought about it when I walked in here, that I should have brought you how many register. I've sent out the registration to several people, but I will go back right now, because it will not, I couldn't get it open on my phone.
Does it seem like they're coming in like every year though?
So I don't know how many, because if they called, my Cheney and Amanda also have the email to forward out, so that it's not all coming to me. So I don't know if anybody, I don't know if anybody else has taken it.
I'll be in touch soon.
Yeah, I'll go find out how many are in there right now, and let you know.
Thank you. For a fishing rodeo on April 26th.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Hey, real quickly before we dismiss, Louis and I have been having some discussion about we need to have an additional meeting to set the tax rate. And I wanted to know, I had a couple conflicts. We were going to try the 23rd, but I'm in Chicago. On the 30th, I'm actually hosting an event. So I'm going to ask the board, Louis would like, it would be an off day from a Wednesday to get this real quick meeting in, but would the board be available either Monday, April 28th or Thursday, May 1st? Is that a conflict? That would still work, right, Lou? It's that week.
We have to have the rate by May 5th in order to get it published in the WIG on the 7th, and then I think one other date. Because you have to adopt the budget on the 21st of May, and because of the Constantine tax rate law, they have to have not less than 7 or more than 21 days notice for the public hearing.
So it has to
They
be-
have to have a public hearing both for the budget and for the Constantine tax rate.
So it could be on May 5th.
Yeah, that's when we actually need to send it in.
Advertising,
You know,
okay.
yeah.
So
We need to
could-
know before then.
When do you want to meet again?
Could the board meet Thursday, May 1st, and we could, or Monday, the April 28th, and we could do it in the evening, a 6 o'clock meeting? Will probably only be no more than 15 minutes.
Well, what's good for you, and then we can adjust around.
I'm good either of those dates, Monday, April 28th at 6 p.m. or Thursday, May 1st at 6 p.m.
First of the week, 28, 6 o'clock, is that good?
Does that work for you, Rob, the 28th?
I would prefer
Thursday, and we could be at noon if we needed to.
Yeah, I would prefer the 1st.
Okay.
I want to have it at noon because you might need to use staff. I want to discuss some of it with staff.
Okay, let's plan on noon.
May 1st?
May 1st, how's that looking for everyone? Let me look, make sure.
Well, I'll have to
Wait then.
move some people, I'm sure, but I'll make it work.
Thursday, May 1st at noon. Could you make it work with Rob or Jay?
I'll make it work.
Okay.
Can you
Earl?
make it Monday then?
I think everyone's said May 1st. Robert, would it work for you better on the 28th? Would you have to cancel anything on the 28th?
No, but that's my day off and I don't know where I'll be.
Okay, gotcha.
We're making it work for you, man.
Okay.
We'll do it then.
Let's do May. Does that work for you, Gene?
I think
It's all about me.
Okay, May 1st at noon.
Okay, got it.
May 1st at noon. All right, anyone have any comments for the good of the board? How about on the internet? The World Wide Web? Zoom? All right, meeting adjourned.